was at a convention and one of the co-founders of Netflix was up speaking. And I was like, whoa, this is great. Well, this guy showed a slide of 100 other businesses. You guys recognize these? No. Yeah, these are my fails. Like they have a lot of failures to have, that one, and probably afterwards too, right? So it was, him and some partners, and they did the whole Netflix, and they gave if you guys if you have time, look up how it got started in the process. It was an awesome little
that's
speech
sweet.
he gave. But again, a lot of these guys have a lot of failed businesses. You look at people like, they're successful. How many unsuccessful stuff did they have?
Well, I always saw this graphic of Abe Lincoln, how he went through all this stuff and failed and lost this election. And then it was like 20 things. And at the very end is became the president of the United States.
Right.
The mentoring and coaching programs that are out there.
Yep.
They're good, but they're also bad. Like, don't get suckered into the high price ones because you will lose money on some of these.
The return's not there.
The return, you just got to be careful. I've had some really good ones where, you pay to be in a program that's going to help you, coach your business and all this stuff and, whatever. And it goes for not just a business, but like other things, there's film programs and things like that out there that I'm not going to say they're scams, but just know the difference on that because I've gotten burnt a couple of times, and that
know what you're getting.
That's probably
and what you're paying for.
Because I lost quite a bit of money on one particular program, and I'm not going to name it because it might be right for somebody else. It just wasn't right for me, and it was just like I can't believe I spent all that money on that, and I got jack crap out of it, and it was just like I just remember feeling like so. It was a huge failure.
Defeated.
Yeah, it was defeated. It was like I just spent all this money, I got nothing to show for it. And it's like
no way to get it back.
Yeah, no way to get it back. And it's like how.
That's one thing. I've taken a couple of filmmaking courses, and these are filmmaking courses I'll shout out. But Full-Time Filmmaker is one of them.
He's good. Yeah.
Parker Walbeck, and then Real Deal Video Strategist Club. I just joined here a couple months ago. David Bibiano, I think his name is.
I haven't seen that.
And he kind of teaches you the videos that work, videos that don't. Kind of gives you ideas. And that one's good too. I haven't finished it yet, but both those courses when I signed up, they allow you for your money back after however long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and not all courses have that, but this one thing I look at, I'm like, okay, if this really doesn't work for me, can I get out of it?
Yeah.
So, when you are looking at courses like that, those are things to look at. Here's maybe a good question I can ask for people that are starting. And this, in my case, I obviously have a home studio, so I don't have an office space, but what are some pieces of advice you would give people that maybe are just starting their business and they're looking for office spaces, deciding to get one, to not get one, big one, small one? Do you have any pieces of advice down that road?
Ooh. That is a really hard question.
I'm full of the hard questions.
Especially because commercial space is not the easiest to come by anyways.
Is it difficult to come by?
It is.
It's hard to find?
Yeah.
It is hard
just
to find.
a good place
good
in general?
space and a decent price. And
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, the hardest thing with the commercial part is because we end up renting, and I'm not a guy that likes to rent.
Sure.
And then
I
just
lose
like you
you're
don't
burning
want
money.
to, but you don't want to just jump all in. Here's my 25% down to buy a place, and then
Correct.
something happens, so it's a little harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you know at the beginning, is that why you decided to rent at the beginning? Because you were still, because I'm trying to go through your thought process. Was it like, hey, this is going to work 100%? Or did you have doubts in your mind when you decided to start Benchmark?
I would say there's always that lingering, like, gosh, what if it doesn't? But I think we were absolutely all in. And I feel like you have to be.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, you better jump
You got to go in.
And did you guys have a support group that you kind of bounced ideas and strategies and stuff off of when starting to kind of help push you to?
Absolutely. So
have that
obviously
mindset?
we're constantly bouncing everything off of each other.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of people in the industry throughout the US that was helping us like, hey, this is what I would do, or this has happened to me within the Benchmark organization that we were able to kind of pull from too.
I suppose that's where the corporate side of things kind of helps.
Yeah. And then we did talk to a couple of realtors, hey, this is what we're looking at doing. And I mean, they kind of said, hey, if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the process of being a business owner. A lot of people don't know, because, I'd say a majority of the people, they work 9 to 5 and they go, but being a business owner, there's a lot more steps and variables that go into it. What does the process look like for you? What do you enjoy about it? And is there anything, things you enjoy, and then we'll go into things that you don't really enjoy.
Right. I think a couple things first I want to touch on is whether you're a business owner or not. I think a lot of people nowadays take their work home. Or a teacher, just so many people bring their work home. So I don't think anything's necessarily 9 to 5 anymore these days, especially with all the ways you can communicate and things
all
like
the
that.
ways you can make money now.
Oh, absolutely. It's constant. But as a service provider / business owner, I am also part of the product. So that's why it was so important for me to also have other chiropractors, right, as a business owner. Because if I'm not adjusting someone, I'm not making money. Well, if you can grow as a team, then it can be more of a business side than the service. So I'm going in, adjusting people all day long. Well, there's still all the business side to do. And a lot of times for me, that ends up in the evening, on the weekends, before work, during lunch, things like that. So I'm trying to be a smarter business owner as far as like letting somebody else adjust some of my hours so that I can take care of the business side and I'm not constantly working and I can enjoy the kids and family life too.
7th grade.
Okay.
I remember thinking like, I want to own a restaurant.
Okay.
For the longest time, that's what I thought until I went and worked in a restaurant, and I absolutely didn't want to do that anymore. And that was kind of my entrepreneurial like hope.
Okay.
So I kind of just gave up on that and decided I'd be a guy that could work his way up the ladder. I got a job, worked my way up a corporate ladder, and then was pretty miserable. Felt like I was trapped in a ceiling. Had my 3rd kid on the way. And decided that'd be a good time to leave a good paying job with benefits and start a company.
When should I leave? Well, I got 3rd kid on the way. How about we quit now and then start from scratch? So after you quit and then you decided to start a business, how did it feel? Like, how were you feeling starting this business? Were you nervous, afraid? You know, if someone's watching this now that's just going to start a business, what would be a piece of advice you'd give those people that are just starting? You know, if they're just opening a business, what would you say to them?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you don't know yet.
And that's one thing I tell a lot of people is like, you don't know what you don't know. So like how you can't get over it until you actually go through it.
Right.
Have you found that out with the businesses that you've had?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fast learning process if it's your first one for sure. There's going to be a lot of what the heck am I doing? You know, I don't know what I'm doing. Especially when it's your business, you know, and there's no one else to turn to take the responsibility for something. You're not passing off. Like you're the one that's got to get it done. So for me, I guess, you know, my advice, you know, and I don't know how much my advice I'd follow just yet. I consider myself successful.
Take this with a grain of salt for the people listening. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I just approached it, you know, a lot of times I don't know what people assume, but they think, you know, it must be nice, right? Like, I can come to work whenever I want. I can leave whenever I want. I can take vacation whenever I want. Well, and you sure can, but that's not going to breed anything. The first 6 to 8 months of my first business, wasn't much going on. I mean, I think it took 3 months before I had my first client and made our first dollar, you know, which we're behind. I don't know how many dollars at that point, but, there's nothing going on. There's no emails coming in yet. None of that stuff exists. I still came in every single day, just like my old work schedule, or stayed later if I had to, but just stayed consistent. Like it's a job. Like I was answering to somebody. Like you can't just leave. I would take lunch at lunch.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is you almost have to treat it like it's a real job and then just throw in the extra hours.
Yeah, I think so.
The first meeting is all about getting to the number, because if we go back and forth and bullshit on, we could do this strategy or we can create this video and then there can be this call to action, and then at the end they throw out a budget of something that's way lower that we can't do, then we just wasted all this time. So, you know, I'm a big advocate of bringing up money early, saying, okay, we can do your project. Let's just get it out on the table right away. How much money are you guys putting towards this? Right. And a lot of times, you know, clients battle with, they don't want to give you their budget, which is fine. And times like that, I'll cut the meeting short and say, okay, I know the general idea of your video. I'll go back and I'll give you, usually I do 3 options. So let's say first option is a lower tier 1 base, just me coming to shoot the video, minimal pre-production, post-production, right? Second one is, okay, now I'm going to have one guy with me. I'm going to come in, we're going to shoot. We'll do a little bit more pre-production, kind of give you a couple more deliverables at the end. And then the other one is the Hollywood movie, right? That's for people that don't want to give me their budget. Right. But I'm a big advocate of getting the number early, just so we don't have to waste time. And then the second meeting is really when we go in and go, okay, what's your call to action? Yeah. What is, if this video gets watched 10,000 times, you get 10,000 sales, how much money are you making off it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. We're a lot the same. Okay. Ours is a little bit different in that we have to figure out if there's what custom integrations, what features and stuff like that, because that can expand out a ton of dev time, which you're the same a little bit. It depends on what type of video they're wanting to shoot. But once we have that, then we're able to put together, and we have probably an initial meeting that's going to be like 10 to 15 minutes long, which is just going to be getting to know each other, learning about the project, trying to get that budget number. And then we're going to have a little bit longer meeting that's going to be about 45 minutes long, 30 to 45 minutes long. That's going to begin to dive in a little bit deeper.
A strategy meeting.
Yep. And we'll present numbers unless if there's something that new that came up and that would derail that.
Explain to me why having a team in business is important.
For us, it's been kind of life-changing. They're basically like family.
They do become family, without a doubt.
And you build a really good understanding between people of what's important. And as long as you can live by the vision that you want, those people will hop on board. And that's really what's happened with our team. So just taking care of our clients.
Yeah. And with our team, I mean, there's so many aspects to the mortgage loan itself that you need people specialized, like in getting insurance, getting your title insurance done, ordering the appraisals, underwriting the file. You can't do everything. Yeah. There's just no way.
When did you get to the point where people started reaching out for sponsorships and that, they wanted to pay you to make a video or they wanted to send you free product? When was that kind of transition?
I can't even recall. I think my first sponsorship actually was not a drone company. It was a portable power station company. Okay. And I'm still working with them, and it's grown quite a bit. And that's another thing that I'm interested in is portable power and electric vehicles, things like that, all sorts of things. You try to expand a little bit because I want to do what I'm interested in. Yeah. But you don't want to do too much. But anyway, I think they were the first ones to reach out and said, "Hey, we'd like to sponsor a video. What do you think about this proposal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, give me."
And that's what I was going to ask you. What was your first initial thought? We're like, "Oh my gosh, someone wants to."
No negotiations. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take it. Yep, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Because it's your first one, and you're like, "Wow, somebody actually offered to sponsor me." Yeah. And then I started researching sponsorships because I never really thought about that side of it. As the affiliates, and then AdSense, and that was it. But then some of my friends are like, getting sponsored by this company and that company and large brands. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So then I started visiting with some of those people and asked, how did you do this? And they, just send them an email and send them a proposal. And this is how it works. And so a few have gotten back. It's still not where I want it to be because I think in the big picture, affiliates comes and goes. Yeah. AdSense comes and goes depending on views and things like that. But sponsorships are long-term and they can be big.
Everyone always says, I want to be my own boss. I want to do this. What were the main benefits for you? Was it being your own boss? Did you not want to work for anybody? Was it the financial freedom?
Those things were cool. For me, the first thing and foremost, I wanted to be present for everything in my kids' lives. That was really family. My oldest son, he had moved to Colorado at the end of 8th grade. It was really hard. So his high school years were in Colorado. He'd come up here for the summers. Okay. And for me, I started seeing what was happening with this job and thinking, I could work for myself. So having my own schedule and being able to, if I want to be at my kid's game or I want to take them to school in the morning or pick them up from school, whatever that might be, I have the absolute freedom to be able to do that for the most part. Now, of course, work still can get in the way of some of those things, but I don't want to miss recitals. I don't want to miss soccer games. I don't want to miss those moments of their life. Yeah. So there's a lot of jobs I could have taken and a lot of opportunities I could have taken that would have earned me more money and less time. And I guess I chose the latter, and we'll find out in the end if I chose right. So far, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Answer your phone and shoot people straight. A lot of people have a hard time delivering bad news to someone. You can't just always bring positive news to someone. Like, you got to, especially in the real estate world, deals fall apart, stuff happens. Answer your phone. We'll have a lot of people that'll hide behind a text message or not even answer when it's bad news, or you get delayed on a sprinkler job or whatever happened to be. It's like, we'll be there tomorrow. Just hold, answer your phone. People are happy to talk to you. They understand life comes up and different stuff like that, but just be able to, answer your phone, deliver the message you got to deliver, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it happens to be.
Your expectations going into the business. So when you guys started, first of all, did you know you always wanted to be partners, or what was the thought process like when deciding, okay, maybe you're going to start the business yourself, maybe you're going to start the business yourself, or should we partner together? What was that like?
So initially we weren't partners.
Not at all.
We were competition.
Hated each other.
There was a little bit of something there.
Steve had Sarah's face on a dartboard in his office.
That's it.
It kind of was. And that kind of started, I mean, she came to the bank and the next thing you know, it was extremely busy at that time.
Okay.
And all of my prior clients, not all of them, but they would kind of walk right past my office into Sarah's.
Okay.
And it was a commission deal. It's like, what is going on? Really? So it wasn't the greatest.
So were you guys at the same bank then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So was she just one-upping you or what?
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't one-upping me, but it wasn't fun seeing all these, because you get busy, you can't get back to somebody and they're in your office or whatever. Say, well, just go see Sarah.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. And if it was a small loan, not a big deal. But if it's a big loan, it's like, hello.
Well, exactly.
I got a house payment too, Yep.
So how did it get to, let's be partners from enemies?
Yeah. Like at some point we were like, hey, let's gain a little quality of life because it was so busy and hectic. And hey, it'd be great to take a vacation.
So was it like that at the bank where you weren't working the hours that you wanted to, or was it just over the top, or what was it like at the bank?
Same.
It was busy. Yeah. And that's kind of how it started. I mean, you'd go on vacation and you'd come back and you'd have 6, 8, 10 files on your desk.
Okay.
It's like, nobody did this for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So we decided to partner together and the rest is history, man. We've been partners for 15 or 16 years now.
I suppose.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe people that are starting business now and they don't know whether or not to go with a partner or to go by themselves. What would be your advice for choosing to kind of run at it alone or go with a partner?
Depending on what you need. So if you're looking for capital and you need you just need an investor, then, find a good investor and understands their role as an investor, and it's going to give you the freedom and believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Basically just give you the cash to let you do what you're going to do. If you're looking for a partner that has a certain set of skills that you don't have, and it makes sense, figure out what those roles are going to be and see what the value is. Right. So I don't know, for an example, like, if you're starting a retail business,
yep.
You've never done any type of shopping at the warehouses for the product or whatever, but you got a friend that has done that before. Okay. That's a huge value, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to start your business and try to learn as you go, or you want to bring somebody in that's already knows how to do that? Maybe you got somebody else that's an accountant.
Yeah. And that's so important. Like when I first started my business, I had no idea how to track it. Like I think I was doing my accounting on just like a Google Docs sheet. And I'm like, what am I doing? But once you get those financials and all of the intricacies of the business in order, it makes things so much easier. What are some obstacles that you've had to work through or that you're currently working through, and how are you going about doing that? Because a lot of people, when they start a business or think about starting a business, they don't really think about those kind of things. They're like, oh, I'm going to be gung-ho and I'm going to make a bunch of money right off the bat. But what are some of those obstacles you've ran into?
I think the biggest obstacle is growth and getting people in the door and being able to be seen. So we've been amping up our marketing a little bit, getting on the radio. Social media has been huge. We need to do some videos here shortly again, that sort of stuff. So pretty much just getting our name out there has been our biggest hurdle.
And is that something where it works if you get people in the door once, or what's the one thing to get people there? Is it pretty much like, hey, get them in the door and then they're kind of sold on, okay, then they get to see the space and they get to meet everybody there?
Sometimes we have had a lot of that, especially where we get someone in the door and then they tell friends or they bring back the rest of their family or that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that word of mouth has been huge for us once we get them in the door.
You can learn something from every single person you meet. And it's the same way through, obviously in your case, play-by-play announcers, but just pick up something from everybody.
1,000%. Pick and don't just stop there within the industry that you're in. For me, that's the other thing. If it's not listening to games, or like right now we're in dirt track racing, right? I just got done on a 5-night tour across Western North Dakota announcing dirt track. Dude, I'm listening to dirt track guys all winter long on watching every highlight that I can find on how they do it. Where they influx the voice? How do they say it? What are they saying? Do I want to rip this guy off completely? No, I don't want to rip him off completely, but where can I get creative?
Take a couple things from him.
How can I go there? And the other part of it is that on the back end, so whatever your craft is, if it's making sub sandwiches, you know what I mean? Yep. Like, I don't know how many YouTube tutorials you can watch on that, but it's also,
how should I fold this turkey?
That's exactly right.
I spread the lettuce?
Spread it out. You got to get it nice and I can teach you how to do that too. Cause look at me. I obviously know how to make a sub sandwich, but the other thing is just on the back end stuff of, podcast, of business, and,
Tony Robbins and things like that. I mean, I'm listening to that stuff all the time, just trying to
consuming things,
consume it and gain an edge. One of the best things that I've ever, like my motto in life these days, which I think is just righteous, is I'm listening to Joe Rogan and Kevin Hart, the comedian. You know who Kevin Hart is?
Yep.
And Joe Rogan's like, dude, where do you get the energy for this? And he's like, Joe, I just go, and he's like, no, but seriously, like you're always going. And Kevin Hart gets all serious and he's just like, Joe, there's two types of people in this world. And hunters hunt is what he said. And basically saying
that's awesome.
There's the people that go after it and then there's people that don't. Mm-hmm. And either you're driven to go hunt or you're just going to gather off other people or whatever is basically what he's saying. Like hunters hunt, man. Like you got to hunt.
I assume it's the same for you, but for me, when I was starting, I took every job because I needed to, you know what I mean?
Gotta be a yes man.
Yes, exactly. You have to be a yes man. But once you get to that point where you can pick and choose a little bit more, you can put more time into the projects that you are picking, choosing, and you have more time to do those passion projects. Like I know right now we're planning a short film to shoot in June 20th through the 24th in that range. And freeing up my schedule has allowed me to put more resources and time into that project. And even though no one's paying me, it's still allowed for passion projects like that.
And plus you can hone your product a little bit more to be like, I'm doing these jobs at a higher rate for a better product. And I'm not having to say yes to these lower budgeted product, and no offense to those people, but you find that niche. Like there's somebody in town that can do that thing for those other people. And and sometimes it might be me or you to be like, it's a quick thing. I can do that. It's lower budget, but you at least, it's not it's
not an automatic yes.
It's not that job dictating what you're going to do. It's you dictating whether you're going to take that job or not.
Correct. Yeah. Which is awesome. What does the actual real estate investing look like? Is it as glamorous and lucrative as it seems on the internet? Or, you're obviously in the trenches. What is it actually like?
You can make a lot of money if you hit a home run. Like right now, the market's just been going up, so everyone can look like a genius in the real estate investing market. Yep. It's if it turns, if a tenant moves out, how long can you hold that house? How long can you, withstand a big issue coming up? Hey, this week we had 4 units flood.
Yeah.
Some pump went out, flooded the basement units. Insurance is going to cover up to 10 grand. That should do most of it. But let's say you didn't have the right insurance in place, or, what kind of thing can you withstand? So no, I'd say it's not as glamorous as people say. It can be a real grind, and you have to look, it's not a short-term fix. Like everyone thinks that it's a quick quick scheme and you can't hit a home run. Flipping houses is probably your best way to do it, but it's not.
Your 3 best tips. Each of you have to give me 3 of them.
Ooh.
For a 22-year-old just starting a business right now, watching this podcast. What are some things they should know from the beginning? What are something they got to get in order? Your biggest tips, your biggest, hey, don't do this. Yeah. How can we shorten that learning curve for these people?
Okay.
They need to do something that they're passionate about, I think.
Okay. I have to give 3 and he has to give 3?
That's correct.
Gosh, this is hard.
That's why I took the passion.
6 total.
You took it, right?
And it can be the
Don't be afraid to make some mistakes.
Good, good one.
And you need to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
That's 1, 2, 3.
I would say go into it thinking you know everything, but no, you don't.
That's a good one.
Like, just know you don't know everything.
I always say that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to figure it out? If I'm trying to shoot a video, I don't know I have that problem because I haven't gotten to that problem yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always say you have to get to those problems to overcome them.
Yeah. And it's okay to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to fail. There's not everything is going to go the exact way you thought it was going to go. So like, take it as a lesson. Pivot.
I feel like people always have that storyboard in their head of, okay, this is how my business is going to go. It's going to go like this. I'm going to make this money doing this. Yes. And then what's that saying? Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly kind of how business is.
That's
it's like, okay. And I remember when I started my video company, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this much money in the first year. I think I made $8,000 my first year. And I was like,
yeah.
I need to rethink my life, I think.
Right.
But, and I always say you don't fail unless you stop doing something.
Yes.
Even like if this podcast can't fail if I do 718 episodes.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually it's going to strike gold. Maybe.
Right.
Might take 1,400. But when you start a business, you almost have to have this circle of people that are helping you. Talk to me about the importance of having that circle, and what did your circle look like of people that were pushing you to do that? Did you have anyone besides Britta?
On the first one?
On both. You can touch on them both.
Yeah, no, and obviously the initial stages is Britta. She's the only one I'm talking to about it. When I did come out at the time, I came out to one of my good friends with it, and he was extremely supportive. And I asked him to be a partner. I didn't want to do it alone. So I asked him to be a partner, and he said he would. He just wanted a 15% stake in it. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go 50-50. If we're going to do this together, let's just be 50-50. Those are other things that you learn later in life. Friendships and business don't necessarily mix that well all the time. It's a dangerous game. You got to have the right mix there for that. But it's a marriage. If you do have a partner and you go into your operating agreements and membership control agreements, they're a very important stage and they're uncomfortable. But if you don't get it done there, it's really hard to change things.
When I first got my first affiliate, there's and we can talk about that and probably getting a cart ahead of the horse here. But when I first got paid for my first affiliate, and I'm like, wow, that was a lot of money.
Like an affiliate link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like I said, we'll talk about that, but I got my first Google check and it was like $13 or something. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool.
Got money for just making a video.
Yeah. I'm having fun making videos. And then it started rolling into $150 and then it got, a little bit higher and higher. And I'm like, okay, well now I'd start researching analytics and what the analytics mean. And
how long did it take you to get into the analytics before
2 years probably.
Okay.
Before I really tried to I don't concentrate on analytics. Like looking at the numbers is fun.
Yeah.
Like looking at the subscribers and the views and things like that. But you have to, if you want to succeed, you have to see what's working and what's not working, and you have to evolve. And it's fun to try new things and see what happens, but you got to kind of not sway too far out.
Don't fix it if it's not broken.
Exactly. Okay. Because then you'll lose people and they get, they're like, what is this guy doing? And then they click off. So
making less money to do what you want, be your own boss, is 100% worth it. Cause you can go get a job for $150K a year, but if you make $100K doing something you love, you know what I mean? Or even if it's not on that scale, maybe it's, $75K and then, or you work for yourself for 40 or 50. And I feel like just the self gratification of doing something on your own makes up for that.
It does. It really does, Easton. And I just had the benefit of not having an abundance of debt. I didn't have like student loans or medical debt or credit card debt or anything crazy. It's just my house payment and just these things. So I had
up so much.
Right. And I had just saved money really, really well. And so I was just in a position to allow myself the opportunity to try this out, to make a move. And if that meant I wasn't making much money for a couple of years, and it was just getting by for a few years, but things pick up steam.
Marketing is important. Give me your take on marketing.
Because people want to know who you are. They don't just want to go to a random person. Everybody wants the story behind it and to know you as a person. So giving them that content so that they can trust you, they feel like they know you and they walk in the door is huge.
Is YouTube a viable career path for people that are growing up? And if you think it is, what does that look like for these people? Obviously, it's not an overnight thing, but what does that look like?
I think it's a very valid, if you have I'm just speaking to parents now. If you have a child that's really interested in YouTube, most of them are probably interested in YouTube because of Mr. Beast or, any creators like him. Yeah. And I think what people need to understand is that's not YouTube. That's not the majority of YouTube. Yeah. The majority of YouTube is stuff like I do. And so what it takes is openness for parents and just people in general, if not necessarily just children, but an example of there's a person that I follow on Twitter, and I can't recall who it was right now, but they had a career day at their school, right? Okay. So they go to school, and all these parents are telling what they do, firefighter, they own a furniture store or whatever, and then someone was a YouTuber, and the kid. No, I know what it was. They asked the kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? They were asking all the kids. And one kid said, I want to be a YouTuber. And the teachers all laughed. Yeah. And they're like, okay, that's good. Yeah. But in all seriousness, that kid, if he really wants to be a YouTuber, can make a ton of money. And it's a long game, but once you hit it.
Yeah. So if someone was starting a business, what would be one tidbit before we move into the Premier Movement side? What would be one tidbit of advice you would give someone on deciding partner or not if they're leaning one direction?
That's a good one.
Or things to watch out for, things to make sure you talk about before they go into business.
One big thing, and I think it's hard to tell until you start working, is like your business ethic or your work ethic.
Okay.
If they don't match, I see so many people saying like not feeling like it's fair. And I don't like that feeling of like, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair. Like we just tend to both work as hard as we can in our own areas, if that makes sense. So making sure your work ethic really matches. Does one of you want to work 60 hours a week and the other wants to work 20? What is that like? And you don't always know until you get into it, but I think that's why it's never felt unfair in our relationship. I think that's any relationship you want to feel right. So that would be one thing. And then that you just have same growth ideas. If does one of you want to keep growing, or are you going to be happy with it? Yeah.
Dude, we get done with a season and I can go back to you and say, here's how many people watch this.
Yeah.
Here's the percentage that were men. Here's the percentage that were women. We have all the analytics of it. Here's where they're from. Here's how long they watched it. They watched it on their phone, their tablet, their computer. In this world that we live in marketing your business, like if you're not using those tools,
you have to be in front of eyeballs.
You have to be in front of eyeballs. And if you're not using those tools, you're missing the boat, because there's other people that are using those tools to perfection. And that's giving them a competitive edge in the marketplace, which is very, very interesting where this is going and how deep it goes. You know what I mean?
The great thing about when you're honest with your clients is they're willing to do it over again if you're honest with them. So if you messed up and you say, it's my bad, lighting was bad, your tie was completely crooked and didn't notice, like, whatever, they'll do it over again. You just have to be honest with them.
Things that you learn from that is, one, pricing matters, and it's not always the lowest price. It goes back to that principle. It's not always the lowest price. It's all about the value that you're providing.
And the price I can get it done.
And that can get it done right. And then two, my biggest takeaway from it was there's nothing wrong with using subcontractors, but make sure you're not out of your league when you do it. Because if you don't fully understand the project, which I could pull it off. It's not even pulling it off. Now we could get it done. But at the time it was way over my head and it was too far above me. And so there's some projects you don't want because there's probably someone out there to do it. You could probably coordinate it. But I think that if it's too far above you, then you could mess it all up.
So do you have any advice for people that are thinking about getting a partnership?
I think it's great. Like I said, I think if you can find the right person to do that with, it's an awesome opportunity to do.
It is, but there's definitely some parts at times where you kind of wish you were on your
fist fighting each other. Fist fighting each other.
It happens. I mean, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You need to ask as many questions as you can about who you're working with, because if you don't know a special detail and you find out about special detail after and you realize you didn't get that, they can come back and maybe be upset. You could be in trouble.
I feel like that goes for any business. Like photo and video, we're both in kind of the same world. But even like when you're purchasing a car, like I just got a new truck and it's like,
I know. Do I get to take it for a test drive?
I don't know if I can let you drive.
Test
but
ride.
We'll throw you in the bed of the truck.
Do I get to at least sit in it?
Yes. But like they ask a ton of questions when you go through that. And when you're purchasing one, you ask a ton of questions. They have this feature, this feature, this feature. And I think it just goes for any business that, the importance of asking questions is really important.
Anybody can educate somebody on something. You know something that someone else doesn't.
Exactly.
And you can teach it, and that's how you succeed on YouTube. And so that's what I did. And it's not so much that I knew something, it's that I wanted to share as I learned something, because that, I wanted to kind of appeal to the average Joe of this is what to experience when you get a drone for the first time. And I think that's kind of why it took off, because people felt that connection.
When people start businesses, they don't realize how many hours you're going to put into that business. When we first opened Pro IT, I was working, it's an 8 to 5 job, but since there's only 5 of us, I was doing the accounting. I was doing, the sales. I was doing the payroll, and you're going from, and I was literally working till 1 to 2 a.m. 4 nights a week.